Hi beautiful souls, it's Tan back here today with another video on this channel for you in our Zodiac Degrees series. And today we're going to be talking about if you have anything in your natal chart in the sign of Aquarius from 18.52 degrees to 24.30 degrees. And in the human design if you have gate 49, and in the gene keys if you have gene key number 49. Now, I feel like this video is going to stir up some debates and controversial opinions. I actually have this particular gene key and human design gate in my unconscious sun, but that's what the energy of Aquarius does. It stirs up a bit of a revolution, and we are moving into this revolution into the Uranian being now. And if you haven't joined our online astrology platform yet, which is called Astrology for the Uranian Souls, do check that out. You're invited. The link to that is going to be in the description box below. So this particular archetype is represented by the penguin. Now this particular archetype is moving from at the fear level, reaction, to revolution, to rebirth. This is about moving from the silent revolution to ultimately the forking of the species. The dream arc totem vision key bird is the penguin, and at the fear level it is represented by the butterfly. At the life key it is the horse. The I-Ching hexagram that's associated with this archetype is called the revolution. It is lake over fire. In the 64 genetic codons, the codon that is corresponding to this archetype is histidine. It is an acid and base balancing codon that balances the blood. This is part of the ring of Whirlwind. The programming partner of this gate is gate 4, which is the archetype of Leo from 18.52 degrees to 24.30 degrees, and the programming partner is going to be the opposite point in the zodiac wheel, and that's going to offer a balance to this energy, or kind of a complementary opposite, a complementary balance to this energy. In human design, this particular gate is located in the emotional solar plexus. It belongs to the channel of independence, 1949. It is part of the stream of cooperation. So let's start off by talking a little bit about the penguin first. So the penguins, they definitely have a very, shall we say, intelligent and well-formed survival strategy by huddling together. Sticking together in really large groups, especially during the winter, is what gets them through. They basically join forces. They have thick skin and fat, which they store up to the approaching winter to survive. Not only that, they coat their feathers with oil from their own gland to make it waterproof as well. So even though, you know, the penguin works always as a very large network in order to survive, and, you know, penguin colonies are very huge, you can even see from space the feces that they've left behind after they've migrated, and the droppings, because the groupings are so huge that you can actually see these droppings left behind in space. Even though they're very, you know, group orientated, very closely knitted together in order to survive, they protect one another from predators. But it's also pretty common behavior for penguins to steal each other's babies. So if a parent penguin sees that there's another cute baby penguin that belongs to another parent, and they would like to have that baby penguin, they would chase after it and try to make them theirs. So as much as they protect each other from threat, they can also sometimes be a threat to each other. And, you know, if we've all seen Happy Feet, we will remember the scene when the mother penguin lays eggs and the father penguin has to incubate the eggs. This means, and the mother penguin has to go away for about approximately 2 months in order to look for food to bring back. Now, so this is a separation since even before the baby penguin was even born. It's this separation from the mother in the egg. It's kind of like in the womb. That's what we can see here with regards to the penguin. Penguins also have, within their own social groups, a hierarchical system. Within one penguin colony, we can usually see that it's going to be divided into 2 subgroups, which is the breeding group and the family group. And so the family group generally consist of parents and 2 chicks, or 1 chick, however many chicks they want to have, and the young are usually cared for and tended to. For the breeding group in the colony is the group that defends the colony from predators. So if you have this particular archetype, one of the first traits that you may have is that you probably are quite social, as well as you may be somebody who's looking to climb the social ladder in one way or another, whichever term that means for you. Have networking skills, as well as some people who have this archetype are really good diplomats because they understand class and elegance and the relationship that exists between people who are considered in the society to be of a higher authority than them. And so there's this hierarchy that happens that you may have a natural understanding of. Does not necessarily mean that you're going to follow it, but there's a natural way of perceiving such hierarchies. There's also a character trait within you to have strength, to be able to get through the tough times, just like when the penguins huddle together in the winter. And you could be somebody who is either focused on living within a particular rule and principle that's been established in the society, or you could be the opposite, means you're unconventional with regards to rules, meaning that you're going to either be following the rules when nobody else is, or you could be not following the rules when everybody else is. Now, some behaviors, such as a particular penguin stealing the babies of another penguin in their own colony, this is, and I'm going to discuss more about this real soon in about 30 seconds, but this kind of symbolism shows the colder, a little bit of an animalistic nature within you. If you have this archetype, there is that part of you where you can be a little bit cold and cutting in the things that you decide to do. And you may experience, because of this behavior, that there's dryness that comes up in your relationships with your close loved ones. The reason for this, now let's get into the reason for this with this particular archetype, is that if you remember how the baby penguin is separated from the mother even before it was born, because the Aquarius archetype, the 11th house and Uranus represents the collective awareness and it represents collective consciousness, right? So with this archetype, you're in touch with the collective consciousness that everybody has in common, and that is the separation from the mother at birth. Going from a place of living inside the womb, being nourished, being very close and one with the mother. The process of birth is a separation from the mother. This is this pull from a space of timelessness that we feel when we're inside the mother's womb, the space of our unconscious, to being jerked into time and space reality, into consciousness. This archetype is very sensitive to this particular awareness, and therefore there is, since birth, a deep fear of rejection because of the separation from the mother being perceived as rejection. Now, everybody can fear rejection, but with this archetype it is particularly strong because of this awareness. In order to transcend the shadow or the lower vibration of this energy, meaning that if you're in the lower vibration of this energy, you're operating from the fear of rejection with a lot of things in life, personal relationships as well as relationships with a larger group and a community. And to be able to transcend beyond this lower vibration requires another awareness, and this is tricky. There's going to be some people who never reach the phase of awareness, and they continue to operate with regards to fears of rejection throughout their life. There's going to be others who are going to be aware of this and seek to transcend from this. And so if we look back at the history of humanity and society and how we build our communities, the reason why human beings gather and build tribes and communities is we want to belong. We're looking for a place to belong because we don't want to be rejected. And when we fully belong, the fear of rejection is even greater. And so this particular gene key, human design gate, and zodiac degrees is the cause of what we can see as the behavior of human beings killing other living beings. It's coming from the fear of not belonging. For example, when we have to kill intruders from other tribes, we're doing it out of this fear. In human design, this gate belongs to the solar plexus, so it's a deeply emotional gate, archetype at the core. So how is it that this particular archetype also leads to killing? It's the cutting off of emotions. It's that point of, I'm not going to feel, I'm going to cut it off, because if I feel, I'm going to feel the rejection again. And then we kill animals, we kill human beings, we harm other human beings, we harm other living creatures. This is the gate that does that. Sorry guys. So from what I've read from the book on the gene keys by Richard Rudd, is that this particular gene key is, if you would like to receive that awakening, we have to feel again. And we have to be brave enough to feel again, to kind of ignite the gate as being in the solar plexus. So sometimes this includes, with what Richard Rudd said, for example, going vegan or being a vegetarian, because when you do that, you allow yourself to feel the pain of the animals, and you decide to have sympathy and compassion for them to, for a certain period of your life, not consume them. That's igniting the awakening of this particular archetype. There is no, in the modern day, need to hunt animals or to eat animals anymore. There are supplementary products that can do that. And you know that you haven't awakened to the higher vibration of this archetype if you are still looking at other groups. If you are aligning yourself with a particular belief or group or ideology, and you're looking at another group or ideology as separate from you, and you are shunning them, you know that you haven't gone to the higher vibration of this energy, meaning that, let's say you decide to go vegan or become a vegetarian, you look down upon meat eaters. Or if you're eating meat and you look down upon people who are vegan or promoting veganism, you're still in the shadow of the fear, because the fear of rejection is still there. So you have to cling very tightly to the beliefs or ideologies of that group. This could also be in terms of religion, to shun another group of religion that we can see happening around the world nowadays. That's the lower vibration of this energy. To shun people of a different race, or to identify yourself as belonging to a race even, or to even give a name or a label to any particular race or religion. That is still the low vibration of this energy, as well as political groups, joining some political groups, shunning another political group, with regards to shunning homosexuality or shunning heterosexuality, or just even giving a label or a word to any of these, freedom of the rights of human beings is the lower vibration of this energy. Because everybody has the rights to figure out for themselves what their journey involves. This is reaction, and it's the lower functioning vibration of this gate and this archetype. So I don't know if you guys have heard of the theory of the mitochondrial Eve. It is a theory that the DNA of all human beings on the earth has actually originated from one particular woman. She was our female ancestor, and she lived in Africa about 200,000 years ago. They studied the genes of modern day human beings. It can be traced back to this particular gene of the woman who lived in Africa 200,000 years ago. So guys, we are all made of the same stuff. We're all connected. There is no rejection or separation when we can understand how connected we all are. That my genes and your genes, there is a strand of it that's coming from the same place. Also, this reaction behavior can also be observed in close, intimate relationships. So if you have this archetype, watch how you react to your partner in intimate relationships. I'm guilty for this. I react a lot because personal one-to-one relationships reflect the tribal consciousness and the collective consciousness. So if you have this archetype and you could awaken from this fear to understand how interconnected we all are by going through some type of phase in your life where you have to really exercise your compassion and your sensitivity. The solar plexus that begins to light up and be ignited, it's going to ripple. This awakening will ripple across other people. That's why this particular archetype is located in the ring of the whirlwind, because it sweeps across the globe and it has the ability to shake the root of human civilization. This is the silent revolution that's going on. The real revolution is about understanding that the tearing down of old systems and old structures doesn't necessarily lead to the desired effect. If you really think about the revolutions that we've had in the world in the past and you ask whether any of them has actually worked, yeah, they probably have worked in terms of tearing down a particular system or structure and building a new one on top of that. But have they really worked in terms of bringing peace, harmony, unity to the human race? They have not, because these particular revolutions are actually coming from a reaction. It is a reactionary movement rather than a revolutionary movement. If you are having a revolution based on anger, revenge, the need to get your rights or rights of a particular group across, you can already feel in your solar plexus what this energy is. It's intense, it's anger, it's the lower vibration. It's the reaction. If you have a revolution with a reaction, you cause a reaction in the group that you're trying to revolt against. And so we react back and forth. But a true revolutionary, once you have awakened to your internal compassion and sensitivity, is a revolutionary based on understanding systems and hierarchies and being able to offer radical changes with regards to practical solutions. Maybe it's an innovation or a way of rearranging the system logically that's going to work for a certain period of time. A real revolution is based on a new emotional awareness or base. The reaction type of a revolution is based on emotions that are clinging to old prejudices, old biases, old emotional prejudice. And the real revolution is therefore going to be based on goodwill and care for everybody, for the whole world, not to fight for your particular ideologies, belief, group, community. It has to be something that is for the betterment or the benefit of everyone. It will only stir love as opposed to stirring any type of opposition. It's a peaceful revolution. And these particular radical changes in terms of strategies to be implemented can definitely start off first with one-to-one interactions, meaning that if you are awakened with this particular archetype, you will stop reacting or have less reactions in your intimate one-to-one relationships. You will be able to get rid of past fears or fears of rejection that creeps up and causes you to react to your lover or your partner or your family members even. Once that begins to die away and fade away, then you can bring these strategies, these awakenings, these knowings to the larger group. And so this is like, the penguins when they are trying to survive the winter. They don't see the winter as their foe or their enemy. They see the winter as their friend. They work in harmony with that particular environment by being resourceful, storing up fat since the summer in order to work through the winter, by huddling together, working as a team, the whole penguin colony, resourcefulness in order to survive that winter. So the resourcefulness, the strategy can be implemented into the correct revolution. So how does this work then in terms of the larger scale? What happens when we begin to awaken as a collective? And by larger scale, I'm talking like thousands of years that, if you're watching this video right now in 2020, if you may not be the one to witness this, but you could be the start of this. You could ignite this particular change in the human species. Once we begin to renewal and release the past fears of the way that we pursue relationships, and then we implement that at a level of a nation, and then a society, and ultimately humanity, and then ultimately the collective consciousness, what begins to happen is that we reach a state of freedom, which means that we're able to implement new rules that we think works. This is like kind of what I said in my video when I talk about the age of Aquarius. This is the age of Aquarius. This particular archetype is like the age of Aquarius. Being symbolized in one archetype is the transcending from that Saturnian being, operating on fear of survival of our past when we had to hunt to survive. We had to be in communities to survive. We don't need that right now. We're becoming the Uranian being, guys. So that's the transcending from the Saturnian being to the Uranian being. So if we look at the age of Aquarius 40,000 years ago, the last two ages of Aquarius, that was a shift in the human species from human beings being the Cro-Magnon man to the Neanderthals. That 2 ages of Aquarius ago was this forking of the species, and we're having another one right now. We're forking into a new species. Yet the Neanderthals that have come to replace the Cro-Magnon man that has died out, they don't have the same genetic material as the Cro-Magnon man. And why is that? So what happens when we have an evolution is that we take the genetic materials of the parents, but then we take that old genes, but we evolve it into something new. So even though we're taking the gene from the parents, ultimately the genes change and evolve and shift into something completely different. So the revolution, the correct revolution of the inner awakening of the solar plexus is what's going to lead to the evolution of the human species, the forking of the species, which is going to become rebirth. Rebirth into a new species of human being. So what would the future look like? Could it be, guys, that there would maybe be 2 species of human being on Earth, and then, you know, one species would kind of be the one that's still operating on fear, while the new species will be the one that is completely released of that? So what do we do now? I mean, talking about this just makes it sound like there's not much that we can do. So the thing is that even if you don't have this archetype, and if you have this archetype, you can, share this with other people that you know who don't have this archetype, that everybody has their gift. And that's what this series is about. It's about accessing your gift, your highest destiny. And if you could live in the vibration of your gift, the gift that is that is in your DNA, that you can unlock and live out, we can together raise our frequency. And that is going to be the precursor to the evolution, which leads to the rebirth. And those who can live their gift and begin internally with their own process of DNA alteration, shall we say, they're the awakened ones and they're the enlightened ones. And this enlightenment that exists in you is going to force the DNA of the people that you meet in your environment to do the same. It's going to even influence the frequency, the fields of the frequencies that we're living in, to influence other people's DNA. But there's 2 types of DNA. There's something called a recessive gene, and recessive genes, we all have some kind of recessive genes, and the recessive genes is always the gene that resists any changes within the other genes in the gene pool. So this means that it's not possible for all of us to fully become a new type of being on our own. You see what I mean? But we can, for example, give birth to newer generations and new generations in the future, who then begin to take our genes, and then they begin to sort of evolve that and make that into a new type of gene, which leads to a new species of human being. So that's why I said that this is not going to happen anytime soon, guys. But we can start it, definitely. And that's the age of Aquarius right there. So if you have this particular archetype, you can also check out my video on Human Design Gate 4, Gene Key number 4, which is represented by the sign of Leo. 18.52 degrees to 24.30 degrees. That's gonna give a balance to this particular archetype that we've got here. So if you have this archetype, then do leave a comment below and let us know what your experiences have been. If you have any other opinions, anything that you would like to debate or discuss, you can drop them in the comments below. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you haven't. If you already subscribed, then thank you very much for coming along. I do astrology birth chart readings, synastry and relationship readings. All the information is on my website. You can check that out. And yeah, have a beautiful day, beautiful souls. Bye.